Welcome everybody to the 10th annual Magic Micsies. We've been doing this 10 years, which is nuts. Proudly sponsored by the manapool.com. Check out the link below if you want to save, get some free money and whatnot. Mana traders, as well as Twitch subs and Patreon supporters just like you watching right now. My name is Evan Irwin, and we get started with these awards as we do each year by saying hello to my three co-hosts, Ruben Bressler.
Hey, thank you so much for inviting me back, even after I streaked across the stage last year.
Power Dragon.
Well, now that we're getting started, it's time for me to actually get professional because people don't really get to see this too often. But y'all are going to get nice dressy me because we got an award show. So, you know,
Sport coat?
yeah,
Nice.
gotta get nice, man.
Stunt on him.
Aaron Campbell. Ladies and
Hi.
gentlemen. How you being, Aaron? You all right?
I'm okay and just recovering from influenza, so I apologize if I sound a little messy or a little scratchy, but I'm here. I want to be here. I'm ready to have a good time.
The fact that you're here at all
Yeah.
when you had the flu is good enough.
Absolutely. The great ones play hurt, and
Absolutely.
we are honored to have your
Well,
presence.
I am
Thank you.
scared to death as Tennessee is currently the #1 flu state in America.
Oh,
Great.
geez.
It's bad.
Really
Stay home, buddy. Stay
All
home.
right. All right. With that said, if you missed our pre-show, patrons get access to all that good stuff right after the show and the complete 10-year archive of stuff and things, of shenanigans that we get in the pre-show, which are crazy in and of themselves. But you're not here for that. You are here for us to talk about the absolute 10th annual Magic Micsies. We go over 12 unique categories here, along with an in memoriam section, which we'll get to here in just a minute. But we are going to need to kick it off with the first category. And the first category is the Wizards of the Coast Best Move. Let's go ahead and get this up and running. Last year's winner was Sheldon Spellbook. Ruben, tell us about Wizards of the Coast Best Move nominees.
Well, they had some good moves this year, including they got a glow up for Gatherer, the go-to search engine for finding cards. They introduced a new World Championship trophy that is a gorgeous Black Lotus flower, one of the most beautiful trophies I've ever seen. Adding achievements to MTG Arena, which added a lot of fun and excitement to logging in every day. The new Commander Brackets system, which specified and clarified a lot of the most popular format in Magic right now. And of course, bringing Pioneer onto Arena, a very popular format added to the most popular way to play Magic.
All right. And so with that said, Power Dragon, tell us who was or what won the WotC Best Move award this year?
It was the Commander Brackets. I mean, this was easily the thing that got the most talk throughout the year. It made everything just kind of codified for the first time in Commander. And it's still being developed, but I think it was great for the format to get some type of regularity, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I mean, Commander's the format that I play the most right now, and not only is it consistently being worked on, but it's consistently in the public eye. One of the things that really impressed me about this is that when the brackets came out, I think it came out right around the time that Magic Fest Chicago happened, and
Yes.
you know, there were flyers literally at every table. It wasn't like they just dropped this and then disappeared. It was, we've dropped this. I saw slideshows at local game stores. I saw flyers. Like, it was constantly in your face that this is happening. And I feel like a lot of my games, that's not to say that there's not still some power imbalances, but overall, I feel like the majority of my games have gone so much better. I tend to play with a lot of random players, people that I don't really know. And I would say most of my games have gone so much better because of this system. People are keeping up with it. They're keeping up with what the game changers are. And that is a move that I am seeing the impact of constantly. And it's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, some fun facts.
They didn't release this during awards season. You would have thought that the fact that this happened so long ago would have escaped the Academy's mind, but no, it did happen in February in Chicago. Or it happened in February just before Magic Fest Chicago, or MagicCon Chicago. Yeah, and throughout the year they kept futzing with and updating the Commander brackets, and with what happened with Commander over the last 2 or 3 years, it could have been very easy for there to have been a downturn in the quality or the confidence that people have in the format and in Magic as a company. And it didn't. It seemed like this really bolstered the community and allowed the players to regain some of that confidence.
Yeah, so and for those who are curious, the last time Commander won anything related to the best move was 2019 for the Command Zone at GP Vegas.
I was there.
That was
Nice.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
almost
And
7
Daquan,
years
you're
ago.
working on the brackets now, aren't you? Aren't you on a commander panel?
Oh, you're gonna hit me in the heart. I used to be,
Oh, I'm sorry.
but
I'm
I am
sorry.
not
Cycled out.
anymore.
Cycled out.
Oh,
Cycled out.
there
No,
you go.
honestly though, it was a big fun project to work on, honestly. So I was glad to be part of it. And honestly, I think everything's in good hands. And some of the people they've rotated out and brought in, I think if they keep on that trajectory, I think it'll be good. I mean, honestly, what they have planned now for the Commander format panel honestly is good. I know people were concerned when Wizards was taking it over and is it just going to get a bunch of yes men or whatever, but no, they actually did listen to us on multiple things that I probably can't talk about for another 2 years. But it is cool that they actually are listening to the people that have been appointed to kind of be the caretakers of the format.
Some fun
Yeah.
history notes here. Last year's winner of the best move was Sheldon's Spellbook. And
course.
2023, Universes Beyond expanding was the big winner because we were excited about that. And here we are.
Right. And here we are.
We'll get to that.
The only time an actual Wizards product has won this category was the Warhammer 40K Commander decks.
Sure.
That
And
was
I mean,
minute.
that was a great move.
Yeah.
They're still
From
good.
a-
They're still
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, exactly.
And the first best move we ever did was Draft Leagues on Magic Online.
Wow.
2 years before
Good
Arena.
God.
Woof.
That's how long ago it has been. All
Man,
right.
that's old people watching and listening right now
That's
have no idea what
crazy.
the hell you're talking about.
I barely know what that is.
I know, right? We were excited about it. We were straight up excited. Now,
Well, to be
for our-
fair, I don't draft, so you two were probably excited
Sure.
about it.
That's
I'm
true.
happy about it. Now,
Oh.
look, as we move on here to the worst WotC move, last year's was too many products, and they clearly listened to everybody. In 2023, it was March of the Machine Aftermath, one of the legendary blow up on the launchpad moves. The original worst move was pulling out a Gen Con, which they
Yeah,
fixed
which they have
that.
since fixed.
They totally
yeah.
fixed that. So let's go
Yeah.
ahead and take a look here at our nominees for worst WotC move. Power Dragon, let's get it started here. The worst WotC move as made in 2025. What are our nominees?
Well, our first one is Monstrous Rage because this dominated standard with the mono red decks for way too long. And we have the Omen Pass versions of Marvel Spider-Man, which
Yeah.
caused all kinds of problem and consternation. And then just standard not being changed when it was a problem for about 4 or 5 months in there. That was really bad. And then we had the Spider-Man set size change, which we saw all the problems that led to. And then maybe another movie and or TV series. Like we'll see.
Yeah, so that was plenty of bad moves.
Yeah.
Another movie and TV universe might be the least of those, but I don't want to get
Yeah.
out there like yet another TV movie universe.
Right.
Maybe asterisk. Like, we'll see.
TBD.
Yeah, exactly. TBD.
So in that vein, Ruben, let's talk about what was the worst
What was the
WotC
worst?
move of
Yeah.
2025.
I mean, you've sort of got these two pillars, right? Is it standard related or is it Spider-Man related? Well, it turns out it's standard related. Standard was languishing. It was just doing nothing for 3 months, 4 months in there. There was a big stretch in the middle of the year. You know, you kind of always have these dog days of summer in that August era, but there was an era that felt forever, where it felt solved and repetitive, and it just was not it.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. It's because Vivi was hanging around too long.
Yeah.
And everybody was ready. We were over it. Like, you know.
Vivi or
We
Mono
had-
Red, that was your choices.
Yeah.
It's tough because I don't envy, multiple things can be true. So on the one hand, I don't envy Wizards' position in that they don't want to create this precedent of, well, if people don't like a card, we don't want you to assume that we're just going to swoop in and save you from it every single time. We do want to give the player base a chance to fight this, but then how much time do you give them? Like, when do you put the flag down and say, okay, you guys have tried hard enough. What you're doing is truly not working. We're going to intervene. And then there also seems to be there's still this weird attitude, and I know I've talked about this for years, where banning is still taboo. It it seems, where
Oh
they
yeah.
seem really loath to admit that a ban needed to happen. I think some people at Wizards still consider it to be a failure or a weakness somehow. And like, I really wish we could get rid of that mindset of like, banning is not a dirty word. It doesn't mean that anybody failed, doesn't mean that anybody's a bad person. It just means this card is not working. It's not doing what it was supposed to, or it's doing too much. And so I can't believe that we're still here in this era of banning being a dirty word. Like I think it's I love bannings. I hate to maybe love's not the right word for it, but I feel that they're a tool in a toolbox, and
Yes.
it's a tool that's underutilized, and I wish it wasn't so taboo to say that. And maybe I didn't word that right, but just
Well,
I
I'd
don't think
say
banning's a bad thing.
when we get to In Memoriam, they're a little looser on the band strings these days than
Yeah.
they used to be.
Yeah, but I do think the issue I think that made this tough for a lot of players was we saw the tournament results being,
Hmm.
in some cases, damn near 60% of the format was basically one of two decks.
Hmm.
And
Right.
it's just like nobody wants to show up and play against the same two decks at, 5 out of your 7 rounds or whatever we're running into at times, right? Like that just wasn't fun for anybody. And tinfoil hat, I think they ended up because they pushed the date back instead or forward, pulled it forward instead of just saying we're just going to ban stuff, right? But the date conveniently fell just before the launch of Avatar. And it's just like, okay, I guess, I
Yeah.
see what we're doing
It's
here,
fine. Well,
you know.
we move on here to our next category, which used to be hashtag of the year, but due to circumstances we will discuss, it's now hashtag/online trend of the year. Last year's was Humans of Magic's The Mob One response.
Yep.
If you remember,
Great. What a
Yeah,
classic.
an
Absolute classic.
epic response, crazy.
man.
Go back to last year's Magic Micsies, you'll learn more about it. Until last year, the winner was actually a hashtag all the time, and then Twitter X'd or whatever, and now we're doing stuff differently. It will likely turn into the online trend next year, just because it helps and it's not as specific. But the original 2016 hashtag of the year was Pay the Pros.
Oh yeah.
That's a
I
great
remember
one.
Yeah.
that.
That one's a
Yeah.
classic.
That was an all
Mhm.
timer
Yeah.
because they tried to do some stuff and it just didn't work. But that said, Ruben, tell us about here of our hashtag/online trend nominees for 2025.
Yeah, so our actual hashtag that we had was Better Days MTG, which was a mental health sort of check-in kind
Still
of
is, yeah.
hashtag. It was really nice, really excellent. Be sure to keep using it. We had the Monster Hunter Secret Lair debacle, where things got announced and then pulled, and they've sort of gone back on that. There was the Edge of Eternity leaks. A tale as old as time. There was a leak in a big set. And of course, there is the big exodus out of MTG Twitter, now X, that, Aaron was way ahead of the curve on. But I have since followed. I haven't been on that website myself, other than to post for this show in a year.
Yeah,
I mean,
there
it's
was.
complicated, right? Like I always kind of cringe a little bit. Twitter does things very well. Like despite
Yes.
all of the things that are wrong with it, it still can't be beat as this sort of town square. And so I don't think it's as simple as I always cringe a little bit when I see people are like, well, just go. And it's like, but there are attachments there. And it's not, I
Yeah,
don't think it's that
it's
simple.
tough.
Like, there are people that are hesitant to have to rebuild a following. There are still things that, for as nice as Blue Sky and Threads and Mastodon and all of those can be, they're still not Twitter. Like, and,
Yeah.
and I say this as somebody who's very happy on Blue Sky now. I get why it's not easy to leave, but I feel like the reasons are growing as to why you should leave. I think something even came out this week about them claiming what's in your DMs or being able to use something. And so I
Mhm.
don't think, again, multiple things can be true. I don't think it's easy to leave, but I do think that a lot more people are kind of seeing the light and kind of realizing like I could have 5,000 followers over there. I could have 500 followers over here, but I'm not surrounded by porn bots and blue chucks and Nazis and
Yeah.
waifus that are awful. And like I'm gonna make that choice. And so I
Right.
feel like a lot more people really made that leap and are probably happier for it.
Well, in that regard, let's go ahead and talk about the hashtag/online trend winner for 2025 Power Dragon. Who won and why?
Well, after our conversation there, you kind of get it.
Yeah.
But like just the exodus from Twitter. I mean, here's the thing. Like I've literally logged into Twitter recently to just like share stuff about my YouTube stuff. And I've actually gotten a porn ad where somebody
Yeah.
has paid to share like their adult Twitter page or whatever. And I've literally been scrolling. I'm like, who did I follow? Like, I'm like, who's just like putting this out here? You know, and so there's all kinds of stuff going on there. So if you're not hanging out on Twitter, it's not like it used to be, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
community over on Blue Sky, it just almost like reset the positivity. You know, everybody's sharing projects they have going on, talking about stuff they like, showing favorite cards and alters and whatever. And you're getting kind of all the good parts of the Magic community that were sort of getting lost under all the algorithmic anger on Twitter. So
Yeah.
it's kind of nice, I'll be honest. It's been
Yeah.
worth looking.
It is unfortunate that, a lot of the communities that I was a part of on Twitter, that I'll call them communities. Basically, I was like following news of things on Twitter or memes or like hashtag weird Twitter. There are things that haven't fully moved or fully migrated just yet, and that's unfortunate. But if you're dying, you can't stay in the room. And that's kind of what happened. And a lot of those communities are leaving Twitter and maybe they're popping up on Blue Sky or Threads or something like that. But for the time being, it seems like specifically the Magic community has really left. Reddit seems to be back to where a lot of the Magic community discourse is occurring, either that or TikTok and YouTube. Where sort of the comment sections are where the
Discords?
text of that is happening. Discord is a big deal now as
Discord's a big
well,
one, yeah.
where a lot of particularly join the Magic Mike's Discord, but a lot of those like Magic community conversations that used to happen on Twitter have had to migrate and find another home.
And yeah, let's talk about the early contender for next year is that people might be moving on from TikTok. Like,
Yeah.
that's a thing that might be happening starting at the end of the
Yeah.
month. So
I never deleted Red Note off my phone after after January, so I'll have to update it.
There was a very magical point of time around, I would say probably 2016 to 2018 was just peak Magic Twitter. Everybody was there. We were all talking about it. There were articles that were coming out about tweets and things. We get arguments every day. Somebody was a main character every day. You never wanted to be that character, but someone was a main character every day in Magic Twitter. I've not even seen anything like that in a long time. So we've moved on. Wizards quietly started promoting other places that weren't Twitter, as everyone else did. And here we are. So we're going to move now into our In Memoriam segment. This is going to cover a few things that are Magic related and not Magic related exactly, sort of adjacent and whatnot that we'll talk about and whatnot. But let's go ahead and get this thing started. The In Memoriam segment for 2025. We begin first by talking about longtime MTG art director Mark Painter. A GoFundMe still exists if you'd like to support his family. Search Remembering Mark Painter and you will find it.
Bill Rose retired, so we're having an in memoriam for his career as lead, a key designer on Mirage and Vision since 1995.
And Channel Fireball being the home for a high-level strategy, one of the pillars that we had for several years, no longer a thing.
In Standard, we have bannings that began with Corey Steelcutter, the backbone of those Boros Prowess decks that sucked and we hated them.
Yep, Abuelo's Awakening, which almost always targeted Omniscience, which was Daquan's favorite card.
Yeah, y'all love me because I get to complain about Monstrous Rage twice. So,
Yeah.
F that card.
And Heartfire Hero, giving that sacrifice burn shell another inevitability they did not need.
Yeah, the card advantage in the trample was just too much. Speaking of too much, up the beanstalk, just too much card advantage in basically every format it's ever seen play in.
Hopeless Nightmare, I think you've all played against this getting bounced and replayed at least 3 times and just pissing you off.
Yeah, this town ain't big enough is too much for targeting your own permanents and way overpowered.
Did you know that VV is good? Turns out.
I've heard.
Yeah.
Turns out okay.
As first reported here.
If it wasn't for Vivi, this would have been the craziest 3-mana card in Standard and Screaming Nemesis.
Now, Prof's eidetic memory got sort of pre-banned, which is weird, but sure, whatever, get out of here. I don't like you much anyway.
Turns out, 1-drops are good, and this red 1-drop Heartfire Hero just kept killing it. Power to the mice.
Literally killing it.
Yeah. Modern wasn't able to escape bannings either, though. We had Underworld Breach, which that was just overplayed and combo-rific. Something had to be done about it.
That card's wild just to exist. That card's insane. And Legacy, they banned Sowing Micah Spawn. I thought it was pretty expensive, but it turns out land denial and land destruction is pretty good.
And searching. And Troll of Khazad-dûm being its own discard outlet for Reanimator, smoothing all your draws, all of that stuff, it became a problem.
Yeah, speaking of Reanimator, Entomb kind of just was fuel for the fire for so many decks. Like this card, you had to do something about it to save the format.
Yeah, Nadu is a dumb card in every format possible, and we saw it once again in the older ones.
We also had a couple of Pauper bannings, starting with Basking Broodscale, which was enabled by an infinite combo with a card called Sadistic Glee, and it became super uninteractable.
And then Kuldotha Rebirth. This actually let us do some really fancy conversion on artifacts, and that's always great.
Death of Dispute is just too much goodness for 2 mana. And High Tide is absolutely ridiculous, is rebanned after they tried to let it be unbanned for 5 or 6 months?
Yeah, give it a shot. Why not? Let it try it for a minute. We had some pre-bans in Historic, speaking of which, Chromox leading the charge.
Fair. I mean, Force of Negation, if you can't have Force of Will, this was going to be the next best counter that everybody was going to play, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't want Frantic Search in Historic, honestly. It doesn't do anything fair, not even remotely. And it's not kind of meant to.
Yeah, and these 1-mana tutors, anything that's like the Mystical Tutor here, and also Entomb was also pre-banned in Historic. These are just too consistent. They sort of make the same. Every game is the same kind of, and rather than having these turn 2 decks, they just got rid of them ahead of time.
Yeah, and I don't think that Historic had the proper answers to deal with Dark Depths if that card was going to be legal and be part of its combo. So it makes sense that landed on the list as well.
And Tibalt's Trickery is so annoying. Even Pioneer can't handle it for best of 1. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah. Now, I played a lot of Brawl. I always play a lot of Brawl. And let me tell you, Strip Mine was in every deck. Just because it's a one-on-one format, and it's insane.
Yeah.
And also
You don't
every
say.
day.
Yeah, Mana Drain also has been good for all of the history of Magic, so yeah, not a surprise that it was a problem in Brawl.
Yeah, they finally got rid of Chromox and also Ancient Tomb. These are ridiculously fast mana cards, and they should
They go in
away.
every deck also.
They should go away. We don't need it.
For sure.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was our In Memoriam segment for 2025. Lots of fun.
I find it interesting that Vintage has had no restrictions and no bannings.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Wild West,
Actually, it's funny. Whenever I see, a lot of the chaos or the discord that happens in other formats, Vintage is not like that. The price is the biggest barrier, obviously,
Yeah.
Price and availability. But, I do feel that Vintage is actually one of the fairer, dare I say, formats out there. And so if you are tired of the frequent bans that you see in Standard, I'm serious, come to Vintage. We do not have the problems that Vivi lasted 2 weeks in Vintage, for context.
I think though,
Yeah.
I feel like there's also something about people who've bought into the format, right? You've already made up your mind about what you're signing up for. Like I'm gonna go spend this extra 5K, 10K getting these extra cards. I'm only doing it if I've already decided I'm good with this. You know what I mean? So whatever happens, happens.
Right. I think the way that I would put it is that no one is currently paying for innovation. And what I mean by that is there's no giant tournament, there's not a pro tour, there's not a $5,000 tournament or $10,000 tournament that says, see what you can do in Vintage these days that hasn't already been done in the current best deck meta and so on. And this is where we saw that what was that the one that gets -3 -13 -13 where X is your life total.
Death Shadow.
The Death Shadow deck in Legacy didn't show up until there was the pro tour that included Legacy, and that's where that deck first showed up. So that innovation showed up because money was behind it.
Because I guess you only have right now is the 2 Eternal Weekend events or whatever during the year.
It's not enough.
I
think it's enough.
The only
I
thing
think there's 4 seasons or 4 in Italy. There's a major tournament.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
And Japan has a lot of major. I think they call them the God of Eternal, God of Vintage.
Oh, yeah. They do a God series for every format, which is really cool. Haruya.
All right,
very
so
fun.
we'll move on here to our most hated card of 2025. This is not the most difficult to figure out most of the years, but that said, last year's winner was Nadu Winged Wisdom. No one misses that card or what it did to coverage. 2023 Orcish Bowmasters was just everywhere. It was their Magic format, and you just lived in it there for a minute.
Yeah,
that was all you could do. Only twice has the most hated card been the card of the year. That was last year with Nadu, and in 2020, 4 years back for Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. And in fact, hated card of the year is just a long tour of design mistakes. Like, it's just, what did they screw up? And they put too many good numbers. They didn't stop the 1 turn restriction, whatever it was. It's a lot. That said, Ruben, talk to us about the nominees for the most hated card of 2025.
Well, there was a lot to hate this year in 2025, and some of the cards that we hated included a card from before 2025, Monstrous Rage, but it continued for so long. Same with Omniscience, which will be around for another 15 to 70 years thanks to its appearance in Foundations. Of course, Vivi was printed in Final Fantasy and took over multiple formats and was banned in multiple formats. The Cruel Tutor art, look at that face. Look at that Shayna Punim,
Low
that stupid
efforts.
bonus sheet avatar. And of course, Hearthhole the World Seed, an incredible value engine that has been causing headaches, particularly at the commander tables over the rest of the year.
Goodness. Now, Aaron, you jumped in with that Hearthhole. Tell us a little bit about that nomination.
So as a commander player, I didn't play a lot of standard. I didn't really deal with Vivi too much. Like I said, people tried to make Vivi work in Vintage, and it didn't really happen. But Hearthhole has been a nightmare as a commander player. A curiously strong precon, like one of those precons that's just really strong out of the box. This card just seems to do everything. Where it's like, why does it fly? Why does it have haste? Why is it so big? It leads to these weird games where people are scape shifting. They're doing these land loop-de-loop things. I hate this card so much. I'm so petty that when I'm on the EDH subreddit, I'll see a post that's like, can someone help me with my heart? Downvote. Does anyone have any card suggestions? Downvote. Like, I am not enabling this behavior. Like, if we sit down for a game and you put out your arsenal and you're like, so we can play Lavinia, we can play, Stefan, we can play. I'm not playing Hearthful. Put it away, put it back in your bank. I'm not playing it. I don't want to see it. I realize I'm in the minority here, but I didn't really have the attachment to Vivi that you all had. But
It's
Hearthful,
worth the nomination.
It's worth
Let me tell you, the way you feel about Hearthhole is the same way I feel about Omniscience the day I saw it was in Foundations.
Right.
Like, I literally looked over the set and went, this is the only card that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, why was it? Because honestly, I think other than that, Foundations is a brilliant set. It's so good. It gives you so many tools for the longevity of Standard. But that one card, I'm just like, why? Why? Who made this decision? And every time you see it, like, decks are just doing nothing good or fun with it, like, ever.
Yeah, once I saw Abuelo's Awakening, I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
What
exactly.
are we
You knew.
doing?
like standard show and tell.
Everything's
Yeah, exactly.
painful. All right, with that said, Power Dragon, why don't you go ahead and tell us who won the Magic Micsie for most hated card in 2025?
The biggest loser of this year is Vivi or Nitier because, I mean, for 3 mana, you get to do everything, right? You get to grow your creature, you get to make mana, you get to deal damage to your opponent, and it fits into a bunch of different decks. Like, obviously, this had to be the card.
And it has 0 colon, which is very confusing.
Yeah, you get
It
mana
was
for
changed.
free.
It was changed to be a tap ability on Arena, so it's even more confusing. In addition to being hated, and because it's part of a Universes Beyond thing, it sort of like overstayed its welcome, even though it's a beloved character from the franchise. So you don't want to hate Vivi because Final Fantasy fans are like, it's my favorite character from the game. And it's like, well, unfortunately, I have this bad taste in my mouth because my only exposure is this 3 mana version that ruined Standard, and also basically won another category tonight in the worst WotC decision. So,
Yeah, this is a card that just has just the weirdest, like, 0 colon makes mana.
and gets bigger.
And gets bigger. And I don't know any, like,
is
developer
it?
who thought
is
that
it?
was
Yeah.
a good... Ever have I never heard them say 0 colon make mana sounds good. I don't know what they were thinking, quite frankly.
The thing is, like, we have never had a card in Magic that says, do what you already want to do, which is just playing cards, and you will get to damage your opponent, get a bigger creature, and get mana back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's insane.
It's incredible, quite frankly. So the idea that they could make that work and then, like, sit there and go, like, just hang on, guys, you'll figure it out, you'll solve Standard. No, did not happen, and I'm happy that it's gone. That said, we get to talk about the other side of the spectrum for most loved card bring up here the nominees. Ruben, what are the nominees for most loved card in 2025?
Well, there was a lot to love in 2025, and we're going to kick things off with the Verge cycle. I think that over this year, people have found that these are really excellent lands, and we're excited to have them in standard for years to come. Traveling Chocobo, not only loved because of the art and the character, but because of the effect that it provides. Badgermole Cub, also adorable art, a wonderful call from Avatar. This SpongeBob SquarePants Secret Lair was super beloved, and putting it on Joda was an excellent choice. And then, of course, Fleam, Gobin's creation from the Spider-Man Omen Paths printing of the card became a bit of a meme in the community. A bit of a bright spot in an otherwise annoying Omen Paths Universes Beyond, Universes Within, Without situation is Fleam.
Yeah.
I'm going to toot my own horn here. That card was not here. I'm the one who nominated that card because I found it conspicuously absent. So you're welcome.
I think you're correct because the patrons overwhelmingly, well, it was close with Chocobo and Verge, but they did get there with an overwhelming vote for Fleam.
Nice.
And with that said, Power Dragon, let's go over here and talk about who won this year's most loved card, Magic Micsie. Tell them all about it.
It was Fleam.
Yay!
Because he just has that big, goofy underbite with the big eyes and just looks fantastic. Honestly, this is kind of the problem, though, with the Omen Pass, because you can't open a Fleam in a physical booster pack, right?
Just open the Fleam.
And they created a character here that you could probably market and do some fun stuff with, but it won't make sense to, like, at least half the people that engage with your product. Probably more, probably like 70% of the people that engage with your product. Yeah. And that's kind of tough, because it's a really cool thing. We saw lots of people making posts about it, people making fun fan art. So just like, man, they, for a while, the Omen Pass was a negative situation. They did find a positive bright spot there that everybody latched onto.
This card came out of nowhere. Like this, I remember when they released the Omen Path version of the Spider-Man set, and it was everywhere. If you went to the MTG subreddit, it was Fleam Post, Fleam Post, Fleam Post. If you went on Blue Sky, I remember this card came out shortly before Magic Fest Atlanta, and there were people at Atlanta with Fleam t-shirts, and there wasn't a lot of time, so these people felt that strongly about it to run out and get merch made. This was not official merch. They loved this card so much, and like I don't think anybody saw this coming. Like if you would have gone through that set and you would have said, "Find me the card that everyone's going to love," I wouldn't have chosen this, and all of a sudden it was everywhere. It was crazy.
If you'd have made me guess, I would have figured it was going to be like one of the Miles Morales or something.
Yeah,
I was absolutely shocked. I think this is one of the the last previews for the set for the Omen Path stuff, because the Omen Path,
it was pretty late in the season. Yeah,
it came out really fast. And Omen Path was just like blah blah blah. Here's the different versions, but I see it. Yeah, and you're like, wait, what's a Fleam again? And we loved it. And everyone lost their minds.
Yeah.
Most Loved card has a fantastic history in the Magic Micsies world. Last year's winner was Yoshimaru Ever Faithful, which was great. 2023, it was Sir Ginger, the Milliner, which is great. Yeah. And as an only one Most Loved card has been Card of the Year in 2022 for the Wandering Emperor.
Oh, nice.
Only then did we love a card as much as we liked playing it and being able to be the Card of the Year.
Yeah,
that card has brilliant art too.
For fantastic.
Sure. Yeah.
It's really interesting that, for example, Fibblethip on Totally Lost sort of took off out of nowhere. We fell in love with Sir Ginger before Sir Ginger was printed from the hype video of the original Eldraine. This is a very organic growth of love of a piece of art. It doesn't even, because Green Goblin Norman Osborn doesn't have this love in real life. People aren't making Norman Osborn t-shirts. They aren't making Green Goblin merch to show up at Atlanta. Fleam it came out of nowhere and is doing gangbusters. And so it's not even Most Loved card. It's Most Loved little weird guy in a lot of cases in this category.
And you can't plan that. You can't buy that. One of the things that we've said time and time again on this show is some of our best catchphrases or some of our best moments we didn't plan on. Like when I said, bacon on your cheeseburger, or when Evan would pronounce things goofy, there was no grand scheme of like, we're going to be funny today, or we're going to give you a catchphrase that you're going to love. It's those organic moments that really you can't buy that. There's no strategist out there. You just have to let them happen and then hope to God that you can ride that wave behave after it happens. Of like, this thing hit. What are we going to do about it?
Yeah. And this is a
Let me be
really
Southern,
nice.
y'all. Hell far.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Right. And
Yeah.
this is a really nice, silver lining for the cloud that was the Omen Paths universes within, without, not getting the license for Spider-Man. There's been a lot of consternation and complaining about that. But as a result, we did get the most loved card of the year in Fleam, which is wild that you can't even get the most loved card of the year in paper.
Yeah, so we're going to move on here to our next category, which is one of the favorites here at Magic Mike's, of course, which is Drama of the Year. Who was spilling the most tea, if you will? Last year's winner was the Commander banning drama from the Dockside Extortionists. Everyone lost their
Oh
mind.
boy.
The Drama of the Year has
crazy.
only been about a Magic product 2 times. In 2020 for the Secret Lair of the Walking Dead, big surprise. And in 2022 for another big surprise, the 30th anniversary packs.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Fair.
That one I believe. The Walking
Yeah.
Dead, there had to have been something worse in the Walking Dead year, but
Man.
30th anniversary was
That was bad. Now, the first Drama of the Year in 2016 went to the Judge Program, which ever since then was awesome. And they didn't do anything bad ever again with it.
No.
Oof. Yeah. Yeah.
I hope
had a Judge
for the
Program
day.
in 2016.
I hope for the day
Oh,
that the
they're
most
bringing-
drama can come back to be the Judge Program.
They're making a whole new judge program now, so we'll see.
That's
all
right.
right. Let's get to
I'll get it
our
right one of these days.
let's get to our winner here. Ruben, tell us who wins Drama or what wins Drama of the Year in the 2025 Micsie.
Well, this is not the comedy of the year. Instead, we have the drama of the year. Through the Omen Paths being nominated here. Speak of the devil, and it shall appear.
Yeah, forgive me. Let's move us back here a second. Ruben, let's talk about the nominees.
Oh,
for
scratch
Drama
that.
of
Scratch,
the
scratch.
Year.
Everybody forget what they just
Cut
saw.
to the
right.
chase.
Everybody forget what they just saw. Well, Drama of the Year is nominated to be Through the Omen Paths, the whole universes within situation. TCG Player had a bunch of issues pertaining to their treatment of their union problems, which was a problem. The Gazban Ogress story flared back up and made it all the way onto pretty much everybody's lips. The Ultimate Guard AI drama and issues with their printing choices, and of course Inked Gaming also had some woes. So lots of issues for product creators and printers throughout the year. But
I wonder who could possibly have won
Ooh.
the 2025 Micsie for Drama of the Year, Ruben.
But if it's
Who
if
was
it's
it?
the drama of the year, it's not going to go to a secondary outlet. It's not going to be to a product retailer. No. We got to have it go to the big cheese up top, the Magic the Gathering Corporation itself, with their Through the Omen Paths universes within situation that they had specifically with Spider-Man, but like the whole trying to rename cards and have these online only versions and confusing everybody about what everything is and sort of messing up their own advertising and marketing and not really knowing the direction of all that was the issue, and that was the drama of the year.
Yeah. I was a little unclear, I admit, when I was looking at this as to what exactly this meant. And I interpreted this to mean this could also be drama surrounding all of these weird sets that we're seeing, like the SpongeBob's and the Offices and things like that. And that really, I really related to that because I've watched a lot of my friends really question their relationship to this game and really ask themselves, is this game even for me anymore? And in a lot of cases, they're saying no. They feel like this game really isn't for them anymore. They're really feeling left behind by a lot of these creative choices. And so that was the reason that I voted for this. And I apologize if that wasn't what the nomination meant, but I've just really watched a lot of people just kind of lose faith in this game over the last year with these unusual sets and these cards and the Furbies and things like that. And like I said, multiple things can be true, so there are people who feel very left behind by these choices, and there are also people that are coming to this game because of these choices. So both of those things can be happening, but the part that's affecting me is I am watching a lot of friends take more breaks from this game or downsize their collections because they're like, I just don't recognize this game anymore, and that's really hard to watch.
Yeah. I think that there's, both things can be true, right? Like you can be an enfranchised player and be upset that, they're building a big box store in your neighborhood where once only mom and pop shops existed, right? And I was a mom and pop shop buyer, but now someone else who couldn't afford to move into the neighborhood is able to live here because of the big box stores coming in. So it's a little bit of a turnover, it's a little bit of a change, it's a little bit of I'm making a gentrification play here, but it's not exactly that. But I think that there is some drama to that. There is some amount of turnover, consternation that comes with turnover, and I think that that's totally valid as a way to view this category.
I felt on some level, though, the whole Omen Pass thing was a thing that eventually somewhere along the line was going to happen, right? As you get bigger and bigger brand partners, and working with Disney is about as big as you're going to get, really, in the grand scheme of things. They're eventually going to say, yeah, but if this is going to be perpetual, we're going to want a piece of that.
Hmm.
Right. And at some point, your feet are going to be put to the fire and say, okay, well, how bad do I want this partnership to work this way?
Hmm.
And apparently the number was too big. Right. And they couldn't agree to something along the way,
Hmm.
whether it was distribution or length of time or cost or whatever. So it doesn't surprise me that it happened, but it is unfortunate that it had to happen because it did create a lot of confusion early on. We've now since kind of learned to deal with it, but nobody's really happy about it. Even the other side, that the people who were like, "Oh, I don't want, this universe is beyond in my Magic," now got a set that's just, "Hey, you get these alternate cards, but you don't have the universe is beyond branding on it."
Hmm.
But I can't have them in physical paper cards. I can only have them on Arena. So you didn't really
Yeah.
satisfy anybody,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
Aaron, it's cool because it would have won anyway if you voted for something else. But through the Omen Paths, for me, there's just an amount of sort of care that I felt was not put into the product. I felt like a lot of the art was slush art. There's not a single line of flavor text in that whole release. Not a one, and that to me just sounds like they don't care. I mean, you can care, and you can tell me you can care, but when the art looks kind of and there's no flavor at all, and you just kind of dump the whole thing, and we're going to be doing this all over again for multiple sets this year. That's what concerns me the most, and that to me is ultimately why it was the drama, because this is going to create long to 5 years from now. How are you going to explain this to somebody? You know what I mean? How are you going to try to explain? Well, we got
See,
these
my
three
my
sets
understanding
that are
is
those sets.
we're getting it for each of the Marvel sets, but so
Yeah.
far it hasn't been confirmed for anything else.
Yeah,
So
but now they've got their solution, and thanks. I
yeah,
hate
I
it.
mean, because like even Ninja Turtles has partnerships with different video games and stuff. Raid Shadow Legends, where you can just get a Ninja Turtle and it's just in the game forever.
Oh yeah.
So I don't think that'll be a problem. But Marvel, for whatever reason, and Disney, there's some kind of hardball play there that they can't get on the same page on.
And I think just to tie it back to my interpretation of this, I think you really hit the nail on the head of that. It makes you feel like Wizards doesn't care. And this used to be a game where you could see the care, you could feel the care. I kind of felt that way when I was reading. I recently read a book about Blizzard that was called Play Nice, and it was talking about when Blizzard first started and they first made the Warcraft games, and you could see sort of this decay of this company that used to take great pains to care about quality and care about delivery and care about that. And then you saw that sort of degradation through the years. And I think that's sort of what feeds into this feeling of, is this game for me anymore? You feel like they don't care. Like that feeds that. I think they say ennui, or that's I think
Ennui.
that feeds
Ennui,
that of
yeah.
like, you're already not happy, but on top of that, this product that used to show so much care, that's not the case anymore. And that hurts. That really
Yeah.
hurts.
Yeah, I'm hoping that what I feel is almost sort of raw cynicism is going to be pulled back a little bit, but to be like, it's okay, care about these things even if you may not love these things, even though they're different these things. Whatever. All right, let's move on here to our next category, which is artwork of the year. Last year's winner was Ink Shield for Sheldon's Secret Lair via Donato Giancola, which is not a huge surprise if you saw.
Yeah, I
the
love
amazing
that ink
art.
shield.
One thing I noted when I was going back through the history here was artwork of the year has gone to a Planeswalker image 4 times. The first ever Micsies in 2016 for Chandra Torch of Defiance, 2018 for Anima Tau the Fate Shifter, 2021 for the Black is Magic version of Teferi, Hero of
I'm sorry.
Dominaria.
What did you say her name was?
Yeah, I thought that.
I didn't know what you just said.
And
I was
Someone
like,
need a towel? What?
Animau, and Animau,
Aminatu.
Aminatu?
Aminatu.
Aminatu,
Aminatu. Aminatu.
Look, we were
Say
just
it- say
talking
it
about
Cajun.
how
Aminatu.
you can't plan this. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I
Anim
for real
tatter
didn't
tutor
know what you
pops, all
said.
right?
I was just
don't
gonna
know
let it roll.
Yeah.
I was
going
just
on.
like, that was not a magic
That was
word.
was
Idina.
not-
That was an Idina Nazim moment.
Nazim.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was
Well,
crazy
look,
when that
and
happened.
in 2022, the gangster
Or
version
Adele
of
Nazim.
Nicholas got there. Oh my God. Okay,
Yeah.
Adele Nazim got there. And with that said, Power Jack, and talk to us about the nominees here for Artwork of the Year 2025
Absolutely.
Micsie.
Yeah, so first up we have Dan Black's Shoot the Sheriff, which is just a cool version of this card all the way around. I don't think anybody can argue that. And then we have another sweet one here in Bruce Bernisi's Ancient Tomb. This is just cool to envision that in space.
Yeah.
And then Ryan Gonzalez, Maskwood Nexus, which I think this is one that kind of went under the radar a bit for a lot of people. So cool that was there. Then we have Princess Hidir, Chrome Mox from the special guest set there. And Eli Manaya's Prenation, which sadly that card did not get as much love as it should for as good as the artwork was.
There you go. All right. So that said, that was our list of Artwork of the Year. Ruben, tell us who won Artwork of the Year. For the
Yeah,
Magic
this one
Micsie
was-
2025.
This one was the most varied. This one was the closest race, I think, that we had, and it ended up going to Chrome Mox, the Princess Hidir version of Chrome Mox from the special guests printed sheet. I gotta say, this is the one that I played in Brawl before it was banned in Brawl. This is the one that I've probably seen the most recently. It is immediately an iconic version of a piece of art on a card that's been around for 20 years. So I don't disagree with the choice, but it was a close race. It was a well-fought race. Both teams played hard, but Chrome Mox ends up coming out.
And
with
to your
Micsie.
point, I think that's why it got my vote, was that it now feels like the most iconic version of that. And we've had several, right? It's kind of
yeah.
like when we talk about, the one Chandra that won the first award, right? Like now when you think of Chandra, like that's one of the pieces of artwork that stand out for you. So I sort of feel that way about the Chrome Mox now. It's just a really cool over the top piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, Aaron, you had nominated Pear Nation. Tell me about that one.
Yeah, so there was, to be fair, there was a lot of good art this year. I don't know that we could have covered everything, but when I think of the cards that really punched me in the gut and said, notice me, was Parination. I remember when this card was previewed, the colors, I've never seen anything like this before. I'd never even really heard of this artist before. And when I looked them up, Eli Manaya, they've just quietly been making hits. Like if you look them up on Scryfall, they did the art for Get Lost, they did the art for Charitable Levy, Desecrate Reality, Heartless Conscription, just gorgeous. Like just the way that they use color, the way that there's this sort of messiness or this blurriness to a lot of what they do. They did the art for New Way Forward, which was also in the new Tarkir set. The Sibsig Ceremony is just mind-blowing. Like this is an artist that I'm going to be watching because I feel like no one's really doing it like they are. And I feel like they have just been given, sometimes you just don't get maybe the best cards. You don't get a cycle, you don't get a Planeswalker. And all you need is that one card to like really push you to the limit or to really get people to notice you. And, a lot of these cards are fine. They're not bad cards per se, but I really think like once they get like that good card, the sky's the limit. Like this is an artist that just really, really excites me. And even just looking at the Scryfall, I'm like, God, there's just nothing like this. And I can't say enough about this. It's just beautiful style. And that's one of those cards that just punched me in the face and said, notice me. And I was like, I'm here.
Yeah, and Ruben, you're all about that Shoot the Sheriff, weren't you?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that the reminder text on Shoot the Sheriff does a lot of work here, but because the art works the text into the art so well, it really stuck out to me. Also, the story that it tells of the bullet holes in the cowboy hat were really impactful for me for a store promo. We don't always get we either get reworks or kind of kitschy remakes, but we don't always get iconic versions of cards for in-store promos. And this one, to me, really felt like a standout of that product. I did want to point out that I do have a piece of Eli's art in a deck of mine here, which is Return the Favors in my my
Look
Magda
at that.
deck.
Oh my God.
I also wanted to shout out Serena Malyan's Beyond the Quiet from Edge of Eternities,
Yeah.
which is the special edition version of the woman basically holding the galaxy in her arms. That really stuck out to me from Edge of Eternities in a set full of beautiful, expansive artwork. That one was the one that I felt was snubbed by the category. The Academy could learn something, but
Definitely learned
but
something. Well, I would note that Ancient Tomb got almost half of the patron vote.
yeah, that Ancient Tomb is gorgeous. That's another
It
one that's like,
is.
that is the one I
one.
picture in my head now,
Right.
honestly.
But yeah, some fantastic options, some even more fantastic options we didn't even get to. The Academy is not always great about getting the very, very, top tier stuff that, I don't know, art directors might look for, but we thought they were great. Move on here to coverage moment of the year. A little odd in some ways, at least for a little bit there. For the award didn't exist until 2017, the first year we did not have one of these because we didn't really think about it. And it was missing in 2022 because 2021 was 2021.
Yeah.
I mean, the most infamous winner from 2020 was when the roommate was in the background using the
Yeah.
bathroom during
Taking
the
a little,
finals.
that-
taking a sideboard lesson.
Between that and like, I think it was like LSV is like ordered a burrito in the middle of this thing and was eating
Right.
it. And then another one with like the kids jumping on the bed in the background. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
this is why we need cams while people are playing.
Yeah.
Like,
Get a
Professionalism,
get a
people.
background in a
Professionalism.
green screen.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
I loved
So,
it, honestly.
It's great. It makes it feel human. I do like it.
Yeah.
well, I'm
Pros,
gonna go
they're
ahead-
just like us.
Yeah, because this
Yeah.
this one has some audio that's going to play, so I'm going to go ahead and take this one. But let's talk about the nominees this year for Coverage Moment of the Year. The Magic Micsies 2025 nominees include NRG catching a cheater. They got themselves a big old Google Doc that explains all about how Connor Patterson cheated during their event, which is unfortunate. Ken Yukihiro wins Pro Tour Final
And
Fantasy.
Ken Yukihiro does 2 damage to Ian and Rob to become a Pro Tour champion.
Yes, he does, with an FF5 card, with an FF5 shirt. Poppergeddon went absolutely nuts. And Seth Manfield and against Yukihiro here had a heck of a moment
Is
in the
this
quarterfinals.
for real right now?
But remember, the bottom.
Can I take this back or no?
I don't.
I already cast it.
You can't take this back. Come on now.
It's fine.
He cast it.
You,
Wait. So he didn't cast the Boomerang Basics now?
I guess he
Oh,
didn't.
wow.
That is. All right.
And those were some
The-
pretty
The
incredible
commentary
moments.
there is wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Cheon, come on now.
Yeah.
I guess.
This was that was in particular a very important moment because it explained that the Pro Tour and World Championships happen the same as your Friday Night Magic do. That if you're okay and no information is shared or whatever, and your opponent's okay with it, and judge don't care, you can take it back. It's okay. The end. Yukihiro had no problem with it. Seth didn't lose a game in that top 8, so it's not like I think it would have changed the course of history or whatnot. But it was something.
Notable. It was
Yeah.
It was a nominee at the very least.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of it before. Like I came into this moment and I didn't know that was a thing you could do. And I saw a lot of discourse about this and you're right. At the end of the day, it's nothing illegal, but I think people just expected more. When you're tuning into a pro tour, when you're tuning into something like Worlds, you're expecting to see a certain standard of play. And that doesn't mean that Seth didn't necessarily live up to that, but I think people were just sort of a lot of people didn't know that this was a thing that you could do. And then even after they knew that, there was a lot of like, but does that mean it should still exist? There were a lot of calls to like maybe amend this rule. Has that rule, outlived its usefulness? This is one of those things that I would never, even though it's legal, I would never feel comfortable enough to try this. I don't even like bringing up splits, concessions. That is a minefield to me that I am convinced I would just screw up. So I'm glad it exists. I'm not mad at it. You will never catch me trying it. Like, sure.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Ruben, the patrons agreed with you of Yukihiro winning Pro Tour Final Fantasy in a Final Fantasy shirt, casting a Final
Pretty
Fantasy
great.
card of the same
Yeah.
number, Final Fantasy V both times.
I think that's what you want if you're working for Wizards, and that's what you want if you're the people who made the Final Fantasy partnership, is you want the fan of your thing to win the tournament wearing the shirt with the card. Like that is brand synergy, people. I thought that was a beautiful moment. It led to Yukihiro winning Player of the Year later in the year, in addition to his top 8 that we just saw with Manfield and some other finishes. So I'm not upset with what ended up taking the crown.
Well, the coverage moment of the year for Magic Micsies in 2025, it was the Manfield and Yukihiro take-back moment. I'm not playing the audio again for you guys. You can go back and watch it if you want. But it just was incredibly significant. It brought a lot of conversations as to what's going on here. It got the rules lawyer people and the takesy-backsy that they just couldn't handle because if, God forbid, you didn't do a thing and touch a stuff with your finger, then suddenly it's all ruined, whatever. I also felt like it really highlighted the idea that when you're at this level of play, the respect that each player has for each other doesn't let stupid stuff like that kind of get in the way. You know what I mean? Like Yukihiro knows Seth knows Seth Yukihiro, you know, like they know how good they both are. There's no like gotcha moments here that either of them are trying to do, and that's kind of what it felt like to me.
Yeah, I took the angle, and we talked about this extensively on the show when it happened, that this is a moment that makes me hopeful. This is a moment that I'm glad about. This is a moment that you see the player of the year and the world champion agree that we're allowed to just be playing Magic without jailhouse rules. A little bit of kitchen table attitude doesn't hurt nobody if nothing has actually changed. I think that that's really fun. I think it's good for the game. I think that it's a, if anyone at that level later proves themselves to be a cheater or a scumbag or anything like that, and you break that trust, then it becomes a problem. But in the moment with the two of them, they see each other across the table. They're probably not making that agreement with 99.99% of the players in the world. But it just so happens that the world champion and the player of the year were playing each other, and we can drop our weapons and kill each other like men, as Andre the Giant said.
I'm going to be the bad guy here.
Ooh.
But honestly, most of the players that complained about this, dare I say just bitched about it for no good reason, are awful players anyway. So like you wouldn't even be in a situation where this is a thing, right?
Yeah.
It's two top players making a decision to where the judges agreed, all the staff agreed. There's no consternation in anybody involved in the altercation.
Right.
So why should we care?
You aren't going to be dating her anyway, so delete your Instagram comment.
So why do we care, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not even a thing. But
that for me, that was when I went to the Pro Tour for years and years and years. One of the number one things I noticed was the amount of respect that they have between each other.
Yes,
and these rules lawyer people that you meet at the local store, the PTQ-ish levels, those players are not pros. They're not going to be the best.
It kind of reminds me of, they used to call it the Levine curve, where like you could tell the level of competition you're at is directly proportionate to the type of experience you have. And there's a weird, like you said, when you get to that LGS PTQ, you're probably going to get some of the more terrible people. And then once you get back to like the Pro Toury, people kind of chill out a little bit. And I think that's very true, what you're saying, that at a certain level of competition, you do away with a lot of that.
Also, I also want to point one last thing too, is this was a reminder of how people can just make a story out of a thing, because I saw so many Facebook threads and Reddit threads where people had turned this into, well, he was doing this because he was going to lose and blah, blah. And like, none of that was a thing. Like, if you go back and watch it, like literally does not change the game state. And you can't even say he's taking advantage of the other player because the other player was the player of the year.
Like, and he said it was okay.
And like, what's going on?
These are important things. Yeah. It's nuts. All right, so let's move on here to a biggie. We're getting our biggies here as we hit the final bits of the show. Format of the year. The Magic Mixie format of the year last year was standard, and I think Wizards, they did put a lot of effort into standard, and I think it paid off in many ways. The only time a format has won more than once was Commander, shocker of all shockers, in 2020, 2022, and 2023. Technically in 2020 because it was webcam Commander, but we all know why. But honestly, if you look at the format of the year over the years, it's really went from constructed stuff to casual stuff almost exclusively until standard from last year. The only official formats now available to never see a format of the year nomination is Legacy. Vintage was nominated in 2017. Legacy has never been nominated for format of the year.
Interesting.
And if Aaron has anything to do with it, it will stay that way.
right.
Gotta do my part.
I know, right? So I thought that was neat. But let's go ahead
Yeah.
and Ruben, talk to us about our nominees here for Format of the Year, Magic Mike's
Yeah.
2025.
Some big heavy hitters in this format, in this nomination, starting with Pauper, which saw an uptick in popularity and notoriety, particularly with many of the ban list updates and many of the new reprints. Commander, a perennial favorite in Format of the Year, a 3-time, 2-time champion, as Evan mentioned already. Standard. It's the standard. It's what, it's the name of the album, and you think it's going to be nominated. We got Brawl on here, which is sort of like a little brother to Commander, picked up a ton of popularity on Arena, and of course we have Modern making a return to Format of the Year, fixing some of the issues that it had, yeah, looking forward to seeing those formats grow from here as well.
Yeah, it's funny that patrons chose Pauper as Format of the
Yeah.
Year.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool.
That's kind of rad.
Yeah.
Now, we did have a tie here that we had to break. So, Power Dragon, let's go here and let's talk about who won Format of the Year for 2025, the Magic Micsie.
I think people are going to be a little surprised here with Brawl. I mean, as Ruben alluded to, it has become one of the bigger formats on Arena to play, which I think surprised a lot of people when that news came out. But it is super popular. I mean, I even get questions like, "Hey, will you do more Brawl content or whatever on my YouTube stuff?" So it's a thing people are paying attention to. So even if you're not playing it, there are a lot of people that are.
Yeah. I think that if ever Brawl was going to win, it was going to be this year. And so it felt like, and I've always been a Brawl apologist.
He's been a Brawl
I've always
apologist for a long
been
time.
in the corner of Brawl ever since it was a 60-card standard only format back in like 2018
And then
or
historic
whatever.
Brawl.
And then they brought about Historic Brawl, and they've made some changes, but it really became a centerpiece of the Arena build, and the reason why you log on to Arena every day and do all of your challenges and get all of your Arena check marks done. Yeah, Brawl really made strides this year with its relevance and all of the bans and pre-restrictions that came out about it. So I'm super excited for Brawl. It's sort of another win for Commander because it's sort of a Commander a little bit. It's like a Highlandery kind of format
Sure.
that has a Commander in the command zone. So if it's got a Commander in the command zone, I think that the Commander homers are going to take that as a win as well.
Well,
One thing
as somebody
about-
who has never logged into Arena, I can't relate to that, but I'll go with it. Regular Commander's the thing.
Yeah.
So.
Very similar. Very close.
Woman of the people, Erin Campbell.
Yeah, exactly.
Never logged into Magic Arena.
Yeah,
I will
what's
say
an
this,
Arena?
though.
Staying relevant with the kids, I see.
When I was
6,
at
7,
Wizards,
if you will.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I actually got to test some of the early 60 card Brawl stuff, actually, when it was just an idea in house and they were trying to figure out a way to merge Commander with Standard and what's this going to look like. So it's kind of cool to see sort of what it's turned into over the years, kind of not what it was originally intended to be, but kind of took on another life and just became a whole separate format that people actually enjoy.
Yeah, I think it's wild because ultimately the votes were split. Aaron and Daquan went for Commander, and Ruben and I went for Brawl. I get the tiebreak because it's my show. But either way,
Wow.
I would note that I do think, first of all, they're very, very similar at this point, right? And I think there's a power level there in Brawl that's really interesting to me. Brawl used to be this thing where I was like, it's sort of like what was left. I was like, well, and so what's really found to me is I'm excited to try Brawl with new cards versus Brawl is all I have available. However,
Right.
I also think that Brawl grows when formats suck. And so Standard was real bad for a long time. It languished. We gave it an
That's a
award
good
how bad
point.
it was languished.
Yeah,
And
for
when
at least a
languishes-
quarter of the year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want
Interesting.
to. I don't want to not play Magic, but I don't want to play that Magic, right? And so
Right.
give me something silly and fun, and I can go make whatever deck I want and whatever theme I want around Planeswalkers that you can't do in regular Commander. So stuff like that keeps it more interesting and cool, and you can go as far into the Spike realm as you want, or you can go as low level. And I think Standard Brawl is great for that because it has a very low level just inherently. Versus everyone's going to have X and Y and Z, fetch lands and so on that you'll have in the Brawl with no rails format or whatever. That said, we want to another one. Our next to last one here, ladies and gentlemen, Set of the Year. Set of the Year is a big one. Last year's winner was Bloomborough, And I think it wasn't kind of close, honestly. A standard set has
Yeah.
only won 3 times before, which I thought was neat. In 2019 for War of the Spark, which I think it absolutely crushed it. 2023 for Lost Caverns of Ixalan, and 2024 for Bloomborough. The first set of the year in 2016 was Conspiracy 2.
Yeah, take the crown, baby.
Oh yeah.
Get it.
Yeah.
Well, we really liked it. And ever since 2022, a Universes Beyond set has made the nomination list every year, but only won once for the 40K Commander decks in 2022. So let's go ahead and take a look at the sets of the year. Power Dragon, tell us about the Magic Micsie nominees for set of the year.
This feels like a sad kept secret, but Tarkir Dragonstorm, obviously very good and probably the most loved in Universe Magic set of the year. Final Fantasy breaking every known record to Magic, which was insane. So not a surprise it was going to be in our list of nominations. Edge of Eternities, I think low-key was the surprise of the year. We weren't sure what Magic was going to look like in space, and it turns out we love it. And of course, Avatar rounding out the year, just being a great homage to a really fun series and checking all the right boxes for the community.
Yeah, it was some really awesome options there that we had, and just a banger of a year, right? Really fantastic. Went out on a really great note, I think, with Avatar. No matter who wins or what wins, I think it went out on a fantastic note, which was great. But let's go ahead here, and Ruben, tell us about who wins the Magic Micsie for Set of the Year 2025.
It's a huge upset. No, I'm kidding. It's Final Fantasy. It had to be Final Fantasy. We had some bangers this year, but you're gonna if you're gonna be the best-selling Magic set of all time before it's on the shelves, the numbers speak for themselves. That's like, when Titanic won Best Picture and made $1 billion. That's kind of what you're getting with Final Fantasy. Is you're getting the flavor, you're getting the crossover, and you're getting the box office. Just a massive home run success. It was also the first standard legal Universes Beyond set, which was a huge milestone. It was a big worry. Whether that was going to work, whether it was going to translate. There was early consternation about the price of an individual pack, both set boosters and collector boosters, which are still through the roof. I think that even though it is a little bit more pricey than your standard expansion, even though it isn't a from within the universes of Magic the Gathering, Final Fantasy is the most successful, maybe tied with Lord of the Rings, but the most successful partnership of two brands that Magic has had in the Universes Beyond era.
Yeah,
Man, I have to throw this out here as a sports ball fan. You end up having these athletes that are so good that everybody goes, yeah, obviously you're a first ballot Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah.
Everybody votes for him, whatever. But there's one person who doesn't vote for him just so they don't get 100% of the votes. That guy was Ruben.
Hey, listen. So here's why I voted for Edge of Eternities. Is because it was the surprise of the year.
Yeah,
It's the reason why I have no emotional connection to Final Fantasy. I think that the floor of Final Fantasy and the ceiling of Final Fantasy, but not Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy was not as surprising as how far above the floor and how close to the ceiling Edge of Eternities was. I think that Edge of Eternities exceeded expectations in a way I haven't seen a Magic set do in maybe the entirety of the show. So that's why I voted for Edge of Eternities.
Yeah.
I understand that it's like voting against a first ballot Hall of Fame.
Oh, totally fair. I'm just ribbing you. I don't know.
I do want to bring it back to Final Fantasy as somebody who loved Final Fantasy. I played a lot of the games growing up, so I went into this set with really, really high expectations. And aside from the fact that I'm still minorly annoyed by the fact that Terra is not actually an Esper, don't even get me started. I mean, the set was a home run. I mean, it was amazing. I loved it for what it was, for the flavor, how faithful it was to so many of the cards. And as a deck builder, I built 3 commander decks from this set alone. And I still have many, many more in draft status. Like, if I had no restraint, I could easily build you a half dozen more. Like, I've never been so inspired by a set before as I was with this set. All of my commander decks got something from this set. There was something for everybody. It had weird archetypes. Like, there were a lot lot of surveil cards, which were good for surveil. So for
Yep.
the 5 people that have a Merkle Obsessive Theorist deck, it got you. I even now, like even when I'm building like future decks, I still go through Scryfall, and Scryfall will pull up this card that I thought I knew. I thought I knew the whole set. I thought I'd seen it all, and there's this card that would be perfect for this deck. And then the future, there was that little set that came out around Christmas. Those cards were brilliant. I mean, there's just 10 out of 10, no. It's like it was just a fantastic set.
Oh, we're eating good as Magic players. For much as
Yeah.
people want to complain,
Oh,
we've
we're
gotten a
killing it.
lot of good,
Yes.
Final
card
Fantasy,
wise.
like the one thing I ran into the Gavin Verhey in Atlanta, and I was just like, dude, I was like, Final Fantasy just didn't get enough time. Like it's great, it's incredible. Final Fantasy, if Avatar and Final Fantasy were switched, at least I think there'd be a little bit more justice, because if Final Fantasy would get a couple more weeks to itself, because Final Fantasy is arguably the hardest worked on set of all time. It took them 5 years to make that set. It took them flying back and forth to Japan. It took them, like, if you've ever worked in trying to get things like approved by licensees and licensors, it's a nightmare. And to have a whole language barrier there, and it's Final Fantasy, so they're not going to do anything quickly. It was a home run over and over again.
I will say this though, for ideas, when that was all scheduled, Spider-Man was not going to be a standard legal set. Right. It would have got another 3-4 weeks in there before
fair.
we start talking about another set. But
They should have, quite frankly.
in hindsight, yeah, we probably still should have stuck with the plan.
Final Fantasy
but-
killed it so hard, it messed up Edge of Eternity's release.
Yeah.
That's how hard it killed
I
it.
also want to bring it back to what I said earlier. I was talking about how, a lot of people feel like this game is not for them, but conversely, a lot of people feel like this game. I know so many people. I went to 3 major events last year. I was at Chicago, I was in Atlanta, and I was in Portland for the Command Fest. And I go to my local game store once or twice a week for Commander. I know so many people that got into this game because of Final Fantasy.
Oh, sure.
I can't tell you the number of times people would saddle up to a table with the pre-con in their hand and be like, I know nothing. I want to join you guys. The threads on the EDH subreddit, even the MTG subreddit, there to this day, there are still people that are like, hi, came here for Final Fantasy. What does this card do? How do I build a deck? And so I just never seen an impact like that before of the ability to bring so many people in. Even in my personal life, there were people that were never fans of Magic. They're like, Aaron, I see Vivi. Can you teach me how to play? To this day, I mean, I still have a couple of friends that are like, you owe me a lesson in Magic. And so I've just never seen an impact like that before of bringing these sort of normies into the game that had never been exposed to it before.
I've been
It's a really
saying it.
beautiful thing.
For as much as people want to be mad at Universe Beyond, Final Fantasy and Avatar have done the most for player acquisition this year.
Absolutely.
And there's no argument. At every local game store, every convention. Hell, I told you when we were in Atlanta, every room we sat in, somebody asked people, like, who's your first time? Not even just at a MagicCon, at a convention. It was like 60-70% of the room every time. Like,
Wow.
it's crazy.
So let's move on here to our final category, the category that wraps up every Magic Micsies every year. And that's Card of the Year. Now, last year's winner was Nadu Winged Wisdom, which was also our most hated card, which only 3 creatures have ever been Card of the Year. That was one of them, along with Thought Knot Seer in 2016. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
And Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath in 2020.
Ooh, yeah, yeah.
The 4 Card of the Year winners have been banned at some point. That's Nadu from last year, Oko, Thorn of Crowns in 2019, Uro in 2020, and Expressive Iteration in 2021. We know what gets banned around here. Now, only 2 winners were never standard legal. That being Nadu in 2024, because it gets another thing, and the One Ring in 2023. But this is our biggie. This is a fun one. Ruben, tell us, who are the nominees for Card of the Year, Magic Micsies 2025?
Well, it's an honor just to be nominated. We had some great cards this year. Badger Mole Cub coming in at the end of the year, being an adorable addition to any of your Land War Elves and Landfall decks. Ouroboros taking over and putting +1/+1 counters on your whole army, growing up all your 1/1s. Stock Up. Definitely got Stock Up at the beginning of the year.
$4 uncommon.
$8.
I mean, at least. Ugin, Eye of the Storms being one of the headliners from Tarkir Dragonstorm, being one of the biggest, baddest dragons that have ever existed. And of course, needs no introduction, Vivi Ornitier.
Oh, goodness me. Well, we have our Card of the Year options. I will note for what it's worth, it wasn't close. This was a completely unanimous. The patrons, all of us, no giant surprises, but Power Dragon, let's go here and tell them what was the card of the year, Magic Micsies 2025.
If my desk didn't weigh so much, I'd flip it. But Vivi or Nitier, that card, I mean, how is it not going to be the card of the year? Like, it's probably if you went and searched social media for card names, this is probably one that comes up 10x anything else. Like, even for just the 4 months we thought it was an issue or whatever, like everybody talked about this card. Like, it was everywhere. There were stories on non-Magic sites about the card. Like, it had to be card of the year, right?
Yeah. And this card has such a responsibility. Like, this card needed to be good. This is one of the most visible characters. This is one of the most loved characters in the Final Fantasy series. This card could not be bad. Unfortunately, it was too good. But when I mentioned earlier about my sort of normie friends who have discovered Magic, this was the card that I have. My friend Melissa knows nothing about Magic, but she saw Vivi and she went out and bought a Vivi. She got a Vivi hat. She got a Vivi this. And so the power that this card had, you know, not only in terms of the power level of the card, but just the audience that it attracted. There were people that were going to go wherever this card went, and not many cards can say that. Not many face cards had the power that this did competitively, you know, game wise, and even just culturally that this card did.
There is something special when a card is too good. It's not always a great special. It's not always something you want for a long time, but if you said, you know, Evan, two options here, this card would never see play ever, or this card was too good, and we saw it everywhere. Well, Vivi got their time in the sun. We got to see a really cool card from a really cool deck, do some stupid crap, once again prove how certain mechanics are not cool and are unfair and are busted, but okay. But at the same time, I would rather be excited with my broken toy than bored with my bad one. So that's kind of where I leave Vivi.
We've said that a lot through the years. We appreciate Wizards more when they take the swings, even if the swings sometimes blow up. You know, sometimes you get a Smuggler's Copter, or sometimes you get a Skull Clamp. We would rather have that than be bored to tears, like we were with the Spider-Man set.
So the finisher is a little bit further down the dock there for you guys, but that ends the regular portion of the show. We're going to turn now to the finisher. This is our bit at the end of every show. We tell a little joke that Ruben writes for us, which is great. This week we turn the corner to the finisher, and we have come to the end of yet another year and yet another Micsies. So as we look forward to the 11th in 2026,
it'll be so this is our 11th year, but this will be our 10th Micsies.
Jeez,
because we didn't have a Mixie in year zero. Like our first episode was not a Mixie.
2017 was the first Mixie, which covered 2016. Whatever. What do you predict we'll be talking about this time next year, Ruben?
Well, Magic has promised that we're going to get a movie or a TV series once again. And with the recent Jim Henson crossover, I will make a hopeful prediction that we get an MTG movie or series or limited run that we all deserve. The Muppets Take New Capenna.
I would watch that.
I would watch so much of that. Power Dragon?
Well, there's more universes beyond next year than there are universes within. So with that writing on the wall, I can't imagine we end the year without a crossover between Magic and the biggest universe that we haven't crossed over with yet in Apple. Just hopefully it won't require so many iOS updates.
Wow. Aaron?
Well, it's pretty easy and relatively quick to get a secret layer made, right? It's not that hard. So I have my fingers crossed that next year we will get a secret layer heated rivalry, mostly so that we can get Shane and Ilya on some new commanders with partner. Like, I want a cottage. I want the club. I want a Rose Landry. I know none of you understand any of this, but those who know, I want it all. I want to go to the cottage.
I assume lots of snow-covered lands.
I want the cottage to be a legendary land. I want the smoothie. I want the socks. I want
the
hockey
hockey stick. Give us the hockey stick. Let's go.
Yes. A hat trick. Let's go.
Each and every year, Magic trends more casual. Commander taking over where Standard once reigned supreme. Arena being the lifeblood where live tournaments were once king, and you get the picture. So I predict that the format of the year for 2026 is going to be kitchen table, assuming anyone is able to own a kitchen table by the end of next year.
Yeah, we'll see about how that goes.
Try to keep that alive. Well, that said, that ends the I guess what, 9th annual? Because I got it wrong.
I think that this was the 9th.
Was this the
If
9th?
I mean, you count how many winners we've
Now
had.
now I'm not sure.
Well, if it's
it's
we'll
fine.
figure
You
it
know
out
what?
later. It's fine.
Totally fine. It's not important. The important part is that ends another Magic Micsies for the year of 2025. And we appreciate you guys watching and being here to discuss all things in Magic in 2025. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Power Dragon.
Hey, it's always good to be here. And if Watsy's listening, I'm still available to work on a secret lair for WWE this year. We can still make that happen. So we got a lot to look forward to in 26. Hopefully that's one of them.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next year. Thank you to the Academy. Always got to give it up to God, mostly the Theros ones. And we'll see you next time.
I love it. Thank you guys so much for watching the Magic Micsies for this year. We want to thank our primary sponsor, manapool.com. Go to manapool.com/promo/Magic and get your free money. Our co-sponsor, Mana Traders, my co-host, Power Dragon, Ruben Bressler, and Aaron Campbell. And viewers like you for watching or listening. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe, do everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us on our exclusive member Discord, subscribe to our Patreon, watch us live on Twitch, join us live or taped on our YouTube channel, or follow us on Blue Sky, or join us here next year, same time, same place, for another annual Magic Micsies. Good night, everybody.